Today, we're cracking the code on what is really a billion-dollar question. How does a modern marketing team actually prove its value and get the budget it deserves from the people holding the purse strings?
You've probably seen this movie before, right? The marketing team comes in with this brilliant, creative, game-changing plan, and the CFO just says no. It is so frustrating. But the reason why it happens is actually surprisingly simple.
At its core, it's not really about a clash of visions. It's just a massive communication breakdown. The chief marketing officer and the chief financial officer might as well be from different planets when it comes to the words they use and how they measure success.
And look, the stakes for getting on the same page are absolutely enormous. This data tells the whole story. In high-growth companies, nearly 80% of the leadership team is aligned on what marketing should be measuring. In low-growth companies, that number just plummets to 55%. So learning to speak the same financial language isn't just a nice idea. It's what separates the winners from the losers.
Okay, so let's dig into the real problem here. For decades, the finance department has looked at marketing as just a cost, a line on a spreadsheet that needs to be minimized, especially when the economy gets a little rocky. But this completely misunderstands what marketing is. It's not a cost center, it's the engine of growth.
The only way to fix this is with a powerful mindset shift. The modern CMO has to stop asking for an expense budget. Instead, you have to start presenting a portfolio of capital investments, where every single dollar is designed to generate a measurable, predictable return. And the prize for getting this right? It's huge. Companies that actually manage to bridge this gap between marketing and finance unlock something like 20 to 40% in financial improvements. We're talking about real, tangible value here. So, how do you actually build that bridge? It's simple. You become fluent in the language of finance. It's time to stop talking about clicks and impressions and start talking about capital returns. So this means you have to leave all that marketing jargon at the door. When you're in the boardroom, nobody wants to hear about clicks or engagement rates. What they do care about, what the CEO and CFO live and breathe, is revenue growth, cash flow, and maybe the most critical metric of all, the relationship between customer lifetime value and customer acquisition cost. Let's start with the first part of that equation, CAC, or Customer Acquisition Cost. Put simply, you have to know down to the dollar what the total all-in cost is to get one new paying customer through the door.
And then you have to weigh that cost against its partner, LTV, or Customer Lifetime Value. And this is a really important point. LTV isn't about revenue. It's about the total profit you expect to make from that customer over their entire relationship with you. And this ratio right here, this is the magic number. For a healthy, sustainable business, you are aiming for an LTV to CAC ratio of at least 3 to 1. Think about that. For every $1 you spend to get a customer, you get $3 of profit back. That is the ultimate proof that your growth model actually works.
All right, so you've got the right metrics. Fantastic. But now you're up against the next big challenge, proving with hard data that your marketing is actually the cause of these great results, and not just something that was happening at the same time. This is the one question that keeps every CFO up at night. Yeah, sure, sales went up after the ad campaign, but would that customer have bought the product anyway? To answer that question for good, smart marketers use a method called incrementality testing.
So what incrementality testing does is it isolates the true causal impact of your marketing spend. The result is a metric called incremental return on ad spend, or iROAS. You can think of it as a much tougher, much more honest version of the old ROAS metric because it strips out all the sales you would have gotten anyway, and it measures only the extra revenue your ads truly created.
Now, what's really interesting here is that these different measurement models, they aren't competitors. They're all part of one big toolkit. Look at it this way. Marketing Mix Modeling, or MMM, that's your telescope. It's for the big picture strategic decisions. Then you have Multi-Touch Attribution, MTA. That's your microscope for optimizing your digital channels day to day. And finally, incrementality testing. That's your DNA test. It gives you the hardcore proofs of cause and effect, telling you if you should scale a channel up or just cut it completely. They all work together.
When you have this kind of data in your back pocket, the whole conversation changes. You're not asking for a budget anymore. You are pitching a series of high-return investments, just like a partner at a venture capital firm would.
And this slide basically lays out the 4-step playbook for building a bulletproof financial case. You start with your core LTV to CAC ratio, you project your true incremental returns with iROAS, and then you bring out the two heavy hitters of corporate finance, net present value and internal rate of return.
Net present value, or NPV, sounds really complex, but it answers a very, very simple question. Will this marketing investment make the company richer or poorer in the long run? If the NPV is a positive number, it's a good investment. It's that simple.
Then you've got the internal rate of return, or IRR. This takes it one step further. IRR proves that your marketing project will generate a return that's actually higher than the company's other investment options. You're not just saying it's a good investment, you're proving it's the best place for the company to put its capital right now.
So when you put all this together, the whole idea of an annual budget just transforms. It's no longer this static, rigid document. It becomes a dynamic, living, breathing investment portfolio. Instead of a set-it-and-forget-it plan that you look at once a year, this becomes a continuous loop. You're constantly gathering data, modeling outcomes, and reallocating your capital, moving it away from channels that aren't working and doubling down on the ones that are proven to drive the best returns. It's fluid, it's responsive, and it is relentlessly efficient.
And this is the real payoff. Marketing stops being about just spending a budget. It starts being about managing a dynamic financial instrument. It becomes this self-correcting system that's always on the hunt for the most efficient path to profitable, sustainable growth.
So ultimately, it all comes down to this one question. By learning the language of finance, by proving cause and effect with data, and by managing your spend like an investment portfolio, you ensure that marketing is seen for what it truly is, not as a cost to be cut, but as the company's single most powerful engine for creating value.